Hi there, this is Greg Jackson again, here with the Fayette Advertiser, and we're now going to take a look at the girls' side of the bracket for the district's Class 2 District 7 tournament. Seedings meeting's going to be later on today, and earlier we previewed the boys, now we're going to preview the girls, and I gotta say the girls is pretty clear-cut. I'm actually 99% sure this is exactly how it's going to turn out, because as I said, these teams have played each other pretty often in the regular season to the point where, you could pretty much put teams at a certain spot based on who they've beaten and who they've lost to. So again, with the boys we had 8 teams. With the girls we only have 7 because Douglas does not have a girls team. Therefore, we've already got the 1 seed here in a bye where the 1-8 was. So again, just like the boys, we're going to go 7 through 1, work our way up to the top, and kind of give details about each team as we go through. So, first let's start with number 7. And I picked Slater at 7. Slater comes in with a 5-16 record, and like I said in the boys, these records are as of Monday. I didn't count Tuesday's games just yet. So Slater, 5-16. They did win against Fayette back in December during a conference game in Slater. That's their only win against a common district opponent. They've picked up wins. They've won twice over Keatsville. They've won against Carrollton. They've won against Sweet Springs. The only other, I'm trying to think, the only other teams that might have played, I know Fayette played Sweet Springs, and I believe New Franklin played Sweet Springs, so I'm just trying to find common opponents. But again, while they did beat Fayette, those two teams played 5 times this year. So right now, 25% of their games are against each other. And in those 5 meetings, Fayette won 4 of them. So Slater won 4 this year against Fayette. So, that one win's kind of a little outlier right now to me. Slater's also lost twice to Westran. And they also lost at Salisbury, and they still have one more game to go against Salisbury. Alright, so we got Slater at number 7. Number 6 is going to be Westran. Just a hair above Slater's record, 5-15. Their 5 wins, twice against Slater, which is exactly why you have Slater at 7 and Westran at 6. I mean, like I said, pretty clear cut. You beat them, you're going to be ahead of them. They've also, like Slater, they beat Keatsville in their 1 meeting. They've also beat Powell Grove, and they also beat Madison. Their losses, they've lost New Franklin 3 times. They lost to them during a regular season, which is, that's a lot of meetings for non-conference opponents. They first lost them in the Glasgow tournament, then they lost them in the New Franklin tournament, and then they lost them in their 1 regular season meeting. Western's also lost to Fayette twice, once in the Glasgow tournament, and then once in the regular season. They play later on this week, I believe, on Friday in Western. Believe it or not, okay, but before I get to that, Western's also lost to Salisbury and Sturgeon. Believe it or not, Western at the 6. This is a team that they're much better than that 5-15 record. A lot of their losses have been fairly close, and to be honest, I'll be interested to see what happens Friday night with Fayette going on the road to Western. Fayette's been one of those teams that has kind of they've won a few games on the road, and they hadn't won a road game the past 2 years. But again, they've always, I think the past 2 years they've gone on the road against Western. They've lost by about anywhere between 3 and 7 points. So that should be a fairly good game, even with Western at the 6 seed. Okay, with the 5 seed, I picked New Franklin. Now, I pretty much knew from the start of the season who the 4, well, not from the start, probably about New Year's, I knew who the 4 and the 5 were, but it was going to come down to their head-to-head matchup, who's going to be whom. Okay, so New Franklin, 13-9 record. They've beaten Western 3 times, and here's one of the why I don't say 100%, why I'm saying 99. Here's one of the wild cards. They did beat Sturgeon, who obviously I have seeded higher than them. Again, though, they did play Sturgeon 3 times, lost to them in the New Franklin Tournament Championship game, got doubled up on the road at Sturgeon, and then in the 3rd meeting, won at home. I believe it was 44-38. However, New Franklin's losses, head-to-head, they lost to Fayette a few weeks ago. I believe that was 50-42. They lost to those 2 losses to Sturgeon. They've lost to Glasgow 3 times. I know that's Glasgow's Class 1, so they're not going to be in here. But a lot of these teams actually have played Glasgow, so I was just kind of, trying to plug in and see how teams have met against common opponents. And New Franklin also lost to Salisbury twice. Once in the regular season meeting. That meeting, they played without Jasmine Boggs in the second half. But before that, they played in the championship game of the Keatsville tournament and lost. Okay, so I got New Franklin at the 5. Moving on to the 4, Fayette girls. And again, like I said, New Year's, I had a pretty good feeling those were going to be the 4-5 seeds. It came down to head-to-head, and Fayette won on the road, which is why I definitely put them at 4 over New Franklin. But I can't wait to see those two teams meet again in districts. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I'm pretty confident that's going to be your 4-5 matchup. Fayette, just like New Franklin, 13-9 record. Their wins, 4 wins over Slater, as I previously mentioned, 2 wins over West Strand with one more game to go, and they won head-to-head with New Franklin. However, why Fayette's at the 4? They've lost to these other 3 teams. They've lost to Sturgeon in the semifinals of the New Franklin tournament. They lost to Salisbury in both regular season meetings. Most recently, they lost to them Friday at home, 62-41, and they lost to Harrisburg in their regular season meeting, 71-39 in Fayette. Okay, so we've got 4, 5, 6, and 7. Let's go on to 3. And I do think your 3 seed is going to be Sturgeon. Sturgeon has a 17-5 record. They did have a 10-game win streak during, I believe, late December, and it ran all the way till that New Franklin loss. So pretty good span where they picked up quite a few wins, including during that streak they beat Fayette, beat New Franklin twice. They've also beaten West Strand. They've beaten Glasgow in their first of 2 meetings. They'll play again next week for the conference title. Their losses, though, they lost to Salisbury 50-42 in the Centralia tournament back in December. They lost to Harrisburg 53-32 in Sturgeon, which was the loss before that win streak started. And I believe that was on December 20th. And they also had that loss to New Franklin 44-38 that I previously mentioned. But like I said, Sturgeon beat New Franklin 2 out of 3 times, which is why I obviously had them ahead of them. And again, Sturgeon beat Fayette, so like I said, 99% sure, but I feel pretty confident that's how it's going to turn out. You're only going to be 100% sure if, 1 beats 2 through 6 and so forth and so on. Okay, so moving on to number 2. And I believe they've been the 2 seed every year I've been here, so why make it any different this year? We're going to go with Salisbury at the number 2 seed. Salisbury comes in with the 17-4 record, just a hair above Sturgeon. Their wins. Again, they won that head-to-head meeting with Sturgeon back in December, beat Fayette twice, beat New Franklin, beat Slater. They beat Slater and they beat West Strand. They still have to play both those teams one more time. Beat Slater by 50, and then also beat West Strand by 15. So notice a pretty big difference in margin of victory there. Salisbury's 4 losses, twice to Hallsville. Why I put that, our number 1 team obviously has also played Hallsville twice. Salisbury lost to Glasgow, which was the win that springboarded Glasgow into the state rankings. And they also most recently lost to West Hancock over in that Superfan shootout in Quincy, Illinois. So Salisbury with a 17-4 record at the number 2 seed. And I think we could have guessed this way back in the first week of the season, back in November. Your number 1 seed is Harrisburg. Harrisburg, number 2 in Class 2 behind Sparta, who also has 2 losses. Harrisburg, with wins, like I said, they've beaten Hallsville twice. Beaten Fayette in that one head-to-head meeting. Beat Glasgow in the Glasgow Tournament Championship game. I believe that was 55-14. So, Sturgeon won by, I believe they beat Glasgow by 15. I believe it was 39-24 on Sturgeon's home court. Well, Harrisburg beat them by even more on Glasgow's home court. So considering these two teams met head to head. Obviously, that's why Harrisburg has Sturgeon. These two teams have not met, and they usually don't meet until this game. But not 100% sure that's going to happen this year. You never know. Harrisburg's 2 losses are to top-ranked teams in the state. They lost to Class 3's top-ranked Herman, 63-58, in the South Cowboy Tournament Championship game, and then also lost to Marion County, #1 team in Class 1 in the MFOL shootout, lost to them 56 to 45. So, Harrisburg 1, Salisbury 2, Sturgeon 3, Fayette 4, New Franklin 5, West Strand 6, Slater 7. 99% sure that's how it's going to turn out. That 1%, I have no idea what they would do. I mean, you can't really flip-flop these two teams because they played head-to-head. Can't do much with these teams because they played head-to-head. Like I said, this is really, like I said, Fayette did lose to Slater, but I mean, 4 out of 5 games. I think that puts them well up here. And, 2 to 3 here. I think the fact that Sturgeon won 2 of 3 gets them a higher seed than New Franklin. So again, check back on later tonight. Maybe Mitch will have them posted, like I said, with the boys, or hopefully first thing Thursday morning, and we'll see how my picks match up. I'll see you guys later.